Hey everybody, it's Katie. So as a new mama or a new mama about to be, I'm sure you're thinking about pushing out a baby and that it's going to hurt because that's what everybody tells us, right? That's what society says, is that having a baby is awful. Today I want to share with you 5 strategies that I used when I had my 2 daughters and I had them pain-free and drug-free. So the first strategy is education. Educate yourself. I spent a lot of time reading, researching, watching YouTube videos, which don't do until you're a little later on in your pregnancy. Don't do it when you're like 6 weeks pregnant. That's typically not a good plan because you're like, I'm not ready. But by, the end of the 9th month, you're like, get it out. I don't even care. It's got to go. So education, that's going to be one of the biggest things that I would suggest early on, is just start reading and researching and reading about things that happen when you have a baby and things that might come up. And because the more you know, the better served you'll be as you walk into this, because education is a fear reducer in my book. Number 2 is going to be find the right place. Now, whether this looks like birthing at home, at your house, in your living room, or maybe at a birth center, or potentially at a hospital, find the right spot, because you've got to be comfortable. You have to be willing to open up, because birth is a very vulnerable place in a woman's life, and so your body, that alligator part of your brain, has to feel safe. Otherwise, you're probably not ever really truly going to open up and feel comfortable enough to go through this extremely vulnerable process. Number 3 is have the right team. Now, that could look like your husband and a doula, your mom, or maybe your best friend. Whoever it is, whoever you choose to have on your team, make sure that they're people who are loving and encouraging, and that when you say their name, there's not that weird stress reflex where you're like, ugh. Those are not the people that you want to have with you. You want to have the people in the room with you that you feel the safest with, the most comfortable with, people who are going to encourage you and tell you that you're doing a great job, and not get flustered when things get difficult. Because at some point in time throughout the process, it is likely to get difficult. And that might just look like when you've hit transition and you're like, I can't do this. You need to have the people who aren't going to panic right along with you, but encourage you through that quick phase, because transition is typically pretty quick. So you want the people who are going to encourage you through that. Strategy number 4 is have a plan. Now, I realize that you're probably going to read all over the worldwide interwebs that says you cannot ever accurately plan for birth. And that is true, because unless you've had a baby, well, even when you've had a baby, birth is unlike anything that you will ever experience, unlike anything that you can ever read about and understand. It's something that you have to go through to fully get it. Having said that, though, it is important, at least for me it was, and I feel like it worked really well. It was important for me to have a plan. Now, I gave birth to my first daughter in a birth center, and then my second daughter, we had planned to have her in the hospital, but we ended up having her at home. She came very quickly. But I had a plan for both of them. Now, obviously, the second one, the plan was didn't even work. But with the first one, we'll focus on that one. So with her, I knew I was going to be birthing her at a birth center, and so I had a really good relationship with the midwives that I was going to be birthing with, and they knew about my wishes and the way I wanted things to go, and so on and so forth. But I also had a plan B and C and X, But so my plan B was, what happens if something goes wrong and I need to be transferred to the hospital? So I had a kind of a plan for that, of these are the things that I can control, and this is the way I'd like things to go. Should I have to go to the hospital, I want, delayed cord clamping, or, I want immediate chest, baby to chest, that type of thing. So it's like I had a plan for if it didn't quite go the way I wanted, well, I have another plan. Okay, so say I need to get rushed in for an immediate C-section. I think that most moms, that's kind of like, eek. But I spent some time researching and reading about C-sections and, facing the possibility that it could happen. And though I didn't really want it to, it could happen. And if it did, I needed to be educated enough to kind of understand what was going to happen and what the procedures were and what the steps were going to be and where was my husband going to be and what was going to happen with the baby and that type of thing. So this kind of also goes in with educating yourself, but having a plan from best case scenario, you walk in, everything's perfect, you push 3 times and out comes the baby and it's been half an hour and you didn't tear, like, so that's best case, right? You know, no meds. And then to worst case scenario, whatever that looks like for you, just have a plan. Also understanding that nothing might go according to plan, but I feel like for me anyways, just considering all of the possibilities made them feel much less frightening to me. Number 5 is going to be have an approach for how to manage the intensity of childbirth, because though I delivered 2 girls without pain, that's not to say that it wasn't super intense and super difficult. I mean, the pressure, the physical pressure that I felt in my body was unlike anything I probably have ever felt and will ever feel again. It wasn't painful in the traditional sense of, you know, the screaming and ripping and crying and all that, but it was intense and it was a lot of work. And so when I say have a method to deal with that, there are things out there such as like hypnobirth, or there's water birth, depending on where you're at, if that's allowed. Water being used, maybe standing in the shower, that type of thing. There's the Bradley method. There's the birth from within, birthing from within. Those are all different kinds of ways to sort of approach the intensity. But for me, I went about it a little bit differently, and early on I decided that I was going to pray into a supernatural childbirth. I found a book that was given to me by a really amazing friend of mine, and it's Supernatural Childbirth by Jackie Mize, and it literally revolutionized the way I looked at my pregnancy, my delivery, everything. And once I read the book and I realized, wait, yeah, this is something that I can pray for. Like, this is legitimate. This is, and you know, read the scripture and went through it. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I committed myself to it. And for me, it was the reason why I had the 2 pain-free childbirths. They were supernatural indeed, and it was amazing. It was probably 2 of the most incredible experiences I'll ever have in my life. I feel like with that, with the supernatural childbirth and praying into it and reading about it and being mindful and prayerful, I feel like the other 4 steps that I mentioned in the video kind of all just tied together, because I feel like understanding knowledge is power, and walking into a situation that you don't know anything about, of course we're going to want to learn as much as we can. So I feel like that and the other steps that I mentioned, I feel like it all played really, really well together, because I was able to give my trust to him and put my faith in him, and also preparing myself as best I could in the natural world for what I was about to encounter. So all of that worked together for me to have 2 very amazing childbirths. If you haven't checked us out on Facebook, please do. You can just go to the KT Files, and we have daily content we post about families and kids and babies. So if you haven't checked us out there, we'd love for you to join us. We would also like to invite you to be a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber already, if you click on the little subscribe button and click the bell icon, you'll get notifications when we put out videos, which is every week. And so yeah, we hope that you can join us for those videos weekly. We'd love that. If this is a helpful video for you or someone that you know, I'd be honored if you'd consider sharing it. And last but not least, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up or leave me a comment. I love talking to you guys through these videos. I've met some really amazing people that way. So thanks so much for your time and for watching. And I hope you guys are all doing really well and you have a great day. Bye.